This AR has been sitting for a couple of months. We haven't been able to do anything with it, but we are getting ready to work on it this next weekend. I'm going to be probably working on it by myself, so me and my dad are going to pull it over and put it in his shop right now, because that's a two-person job. The only thing that's happened since the last video I posted is we took off the flywheel because it was worn. We took the flywheel off and we flipped the ring around. So I don't know where my dad stashed that flywheel, but he's gonna get a hitch and we're gonna connect it to the loader of the 3020, and we're gonna push the AR from the pole barn here over to the workshop. Now this is what we have. We've got this hitch on a piece of pipe that we built, and we just slide that over the front tine of the hay forks, and then my dad can just push me, and if we go nice and slow, it goes pretty good. The reason we're not pulling it, the reason he's pushing me, is so then he can just push me right up to the front of the shop in there. If he was to pull me, then it'd be hard to get the tractor that he was pulling me with back out. Now, it's right here at the front of the shop, next to the workbench, next to the tools. We've got room to work around on either side of it. And there we go. Okay, we brought the flywheel over in a wheelbarrow. Now, we're just gonna set it on to the crankshaft. Main thing we wanna pay attention to is that timing mark right there, and then also there's a punch right here. The main thing is there's a groove in this oil ring right here, and there's a pin that's on the back of the flywheel that just needs to go in there, and that just spins with the flywheel, and I think it just keeps oil from leaking out around that main seal. So we'll grab the flywheel and stick that on. We went to put this flywheel back on and we went to time it, and there's your timing mark on your camshaft, that V. And I don't know if you can see over here, I can pull my light. This is the flywheel that came off of the tractor, and you can see, oops, right here, there's your timing mark. This flywheel, however, does not have a timing mark. All the way around here, we cleaned off and scratched that off with a wire brush and stuff. Clean that. There's no timing mark. What there is there's that big notch right there, and we figured that that must be the timing mark, and it is. We verified it. If you see the orientation of this flywheel, here is your left-hand exhaust open. Your left-hand impulse mark is over there, and straight up and down right there is that where that big notch is. Then if we move over here to this is the flywheel we took off of it, oriented the same. Let me get my light. There's the timing mark right at the top, as you can see. Sorry. There's your timing mark right there. And it's right at the top. I've got it oriented the same. There's left-hand exhaust open, left-hand impulse over on that side. And so that confirms that this timing mark right here on the flywheel is the same as this timing mark right here, which is that big notch right there. I'm not sure why Deere did that, but it's a little bit different. The part number on this flywheel is a 3264R. Part number on this flywheel is, I get the light, a 3264R. Same. So they're just same part number, but the way that they marked this flywheel, which is, like I say, which is off of like a 1948, is slightly different than how this flywheel was marked. So no big deal, but just something curious that you might run across. This tractor has been, like, it had been sitting in that field where we pulled it out for many years, and it doesn't have much compression on one of the cylinders. You can tell just by spinning the flywheel that one of the cylinders has good compression, but then the other one, see, now we're getting compression right here, but not much right there. So I think it is this number one cylinder does not have much compression. I don't think there's, well, I'm hoping there's nothing wrong with the valves, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this valve cover off, and I'm just going to hit the top of the valve. Sometimes after they've been sitting for a long time, those valves, they don't really seat super great. And so if you just hit the top of the valve with a hammer, just lightly tap it, it'll pop back. The valve will spring down, and when it pops back quickly, it will seat itself, and then you'll have good compression. So hoping that that's the fix here, but we'll find out. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this cover off. Okay, here's the valves. Let me move my camera a little bit. Maybe you can see a little bit better. About as good as it's going to get. Okay, so I've got the rocker, I've got the valve cover off. Here is your exhaust valve for piston number 1. Here's your intake valve for piston number 1. Here's your intake valve for piston number 2. Here's your exhaust valve for piston number 2. So when I spin the flywheel and this valve opens, and after it closes, I should get a lot of compression, and I don't get a whole bunch of compression. But after this one does, after cylinder number 2, valve opens and closes, then I do get a lot of compression. So I'll show you. You won't, I mean, you just have to trust me. So I'm spinning it. There's the exhaust valve for number 1. It's opening. Okay. There is the intake valve for number 1 opening. Now it closes, and I should get a lot of compression, but I don't. See? I don't until number 2. They just don't. Right there. Okay, so I'm going to tap the end of those valves with this mallet real quick. Okay, let's see if that did anything. Holy cow! Yep, that did a lot. Okay, we've got good compression now. Oh boy, I can't even spin that flywheel now. That's good. So compression problem solved on this engine that's been sitting for probably about a decade. So now Let's put the valve cover back on. We'll install the carburetor up here. You can't see. Sorry. Okay, I'll put the valve cover back on. We'll install the carburetor, and then we'll put on the magneto, check for timing, and I'm guessing that this puppy will start right up. Hopefully. We'll see. I've got the carburetor installed, and you'll notice that I took the tube, the intake tube right here. I took that off the carburetor. The reason I did that is because if you look up inside the, can't see it on this side, but if you look up inside the air intake, you can see there's some wasp nests up there, and sometimes wasps will go in there and they'll go down inside of here and make nests down in here. And I don't want to take that off right now, and I don't want to connect that to the engine and then have a bunch of wasp nests and junk get sucked down in through and clog up the carburetor and stuff, or even make its way into the engine. So I've just disconnected that intake, and that'll be okay. Now I've got the fuel connected. I cleaned out the sediment bowl. Looks like I've got a little bit of a leak, but not too bad. Just a seeping a little bit. For now, I think that'll work. I'm going to turn on the gas here. That should fill up the float bowl. Hopefully, if the float works, then it'll fill up and shut the fuel off. If we see fuel dripping out of here, then that means the float is not closed, but we'll try this out. Looks like fuel is going down in there. Let's look at the front here. Uh-oh. I got fuel dripping out of the bottom of that. I got to tighten that up. Let's shut this off. I'm going to tighten up that nut on the bottom of the carburetor. Okay, I turned the fuel back on after I tightened up that nut down there. Doesn't look like anything's dripping out there. And I'm looking right here to see if fuel starts dripping out there. Because like I say, if fuel drips out there, oh, there we go. See that? That's not good. Let's shut this off. Okay. So that means my float is, or my needle and my seat down inside here are not closing off all the way. But that does mean also that my float is, or my bowl is all the way full. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to start it with some fuel in it. I just want to see if it pops. Okay, here it goes. First attempt to start this. That fired. Let's do that again. It seems like it has a vibration. I'm not sure what that is. It could be that whoever put this back together, there's some weights inside the clutch. There, you know, the flywheel inside the clutch needs to be flipped, rotated. I don't know, but I think it just ran out of fuel. I think that was the issue there. But start it. It's not very loud. That's a strong muffler. Yeah. Runs. No smoke came out of it. That's exciting. Okay, I'm gonna make another video of this running because I noticed that it was vibrating a lot. It didn't seem like it was hitting on both cylinders when I would give it throttle. It wasn't hitting on both cylinders. And then I came over and I noticed that this spark plug right here, number 2 spark plug, was not done up. So that would be why that wasn't running. I'm going to turn the fuel on, get some more fuel in it. Doesn't seem to be leaking fuel anymore. Okay, here we go again. Seems to be vibrating a little bit. I'm going to take this clutch apart and see if that needs to be rotated because it shouldn't vibrate like this. It's not super bad, but it's not smooth. I mean, it's running smooth, and it's sitting on both cylinders, but we got to do some adjustment. But it does run. That's exciting. We've got medium oil pressure. Let's see if it moves backward. The PTO is going. I'll go back it up a tiny bit.
to shut it down because I got to fix that vibration. It's leaking a little bit of fuel. Okay, there's that. Runs. That's exciting. I'm really happy. It is, let's see if you can see what time it is. Let's see. Yeah, 2:51 in the morning. So I'm gonna go inside and go to sleep. But that is exciting. We got some fuel leaks we got to fix right there. I didn't mess with the carburetor, but we can probably fine tune that a little bit. But like I say, I really want to fix that vibration. And I think I'm going to start by just taking apart the clutch. But that can wait till another day. For now, this thing runs. There it is. From that snowy field all the way back here, and now it's running. It's been about 6 months, probably. So we picked that up in the middle of January. It's now the end of June. So yeah, about 6 months. Haven't had a chance to work on it a whole bunch, but man, that is exciting. There it is. Disconnect the battery. Good old AR.